Hi, everyone, and welcome to We Are a Crotchety Old Man and a Woman, a podcast for you, with you, and even sometimes about you. So I'm here. I am with Abigail. Abigail, how you doing? Did you find your glasses?
Arden, why are you starting this meeting off like this?
So you gotta tell the story
Okay,
because
okay,
I was
all
laughing.
right, all right, okay. So, to all our listeners, I misplaced my prescription computer glasses that I had just gotten over 2 months ago, and I've ripped my office at work apart, this entire house apart, looking for them. Well, we were cleaning out cabinet space yesterday, and he brought down the Instapot, which is like a crock
Like a
pot.
crock, yeah, like a crock pot, yeah.
Yeah,
And there was something like magical because Abigail has been searching high and low for this.
right. So Wayne says, "Oh, does this part go inside the pot?" And I opened it, and there they were. My glasses were inside of the Instapot. How they got there like that? No clue.
Did I ever tell you a quick story about how I cooked my glasses? It's one of my brother's favorite things ever.
No, you did not.
So right out of college, I didn't know if I wanted to be a chef or not, and I couldn't afford culinary school anyway. So I'm working at a restaurant, and I wore glasses all the time. And I put them in my pocket every day. Well, I was making a huge batch of French onion soup, and I guess at some point they fell in. Now, I don't use glasses while I'm cooking because I'm sweating like crazy. At the end of the night, the cleaning guy who does he does like the dishes in the dishwasher, he goes, "Are these yours?" And he had them on a pair of tongs.
Oh my
They
God.
went in the French onion soup, and so a lot of people were eating Wayne's glasses. Disgusting.
So
Yeah,
can I ask you, did you wear a real chef's hat? A real
I had
hat?
to on occasion. It only was if I was outside of the actual cooking area. Like Mother's Day, I had to wear a chef's hat, and I look like such a dork. I don't know.
Right, but did it have a bunch of pleats in it in the middle of the hat?
It did have pleats.
Well, something I learned this week, there's actually a 100 pleats on a chef's hat.
Really?
And do you know what they represent?
I no clue, no idea.
Apparently, 100 ways to make eggs.
Huh. I think I can make eggs three ways. I'm confident I can make it three ways. I think I could scramble them, I can make a basic omelet, and I can make them over easy. Well, did you know, speaking of cooking, what day it is? It is National Lemon Drizzle Cake Day. Now, I've never had
Mm,
lemon drizzle. I've had lemon cake, but I've never had a lemon drizzle. Have you ever had that?
absolutely.
Really? What's it
And
like?
it was fantastic. Um, they made it at an Italian restaurant that kind of left our area at least, called the Macaroni Grill.
Oh, wow,
But
that's
it
nice.
was it had drizzle lemon on top with lemon cake. It was delicious. And I'm gonna maybe go online and look for that recipe. And even though I don't bake, I might try to replicate it.
Make us some lemon cake. I want some drizzle. So our normal this day in history, I'm actually going to not really be talking that much because there wasn't a lot of like mega events. I mean, there was some small stuff. So I picked out a couple that were kind of important. Um, and I got to always make sure that I include uh, our people in Europe who like to listen to our show. I'd like to thank them once again and feel free to reach out to us. In 1815, was the final act of the Congress of Vienna. Now, I never heard of this because they don't teach it in the public education anymore over here. The Congress of Vienna negotiated the reorganization of Europe after the Napoleonic Wars. So they were moving borders around. So the average person who's working on a farm may have one day been German, the next day they might have been French or something else. So they reorganized the map. So that was pretty significant. Jumping up to 1940, Today was the day that General Rommel pushed his panzer troops all the way to the Atlantic coast. And it wouldn't be for another 2+ years where we just celebrated D-Day. It wouldn't be it would be 2 years later that we would actually be landing our troops uh, and fighting the Atlantic Wall and actually getting through. And finally, in 1983, once again, this is our shout out to our British fans or English fans, because I think we have both now. Margaret Thatcher wins re-election as prime minister. So I found that pretty amazing.
Which was
Uh,
a great day.
it was a great day. Now, we have our Abigail with sports. So, and there's a lot of sports going on. So take it away, Abigail.
Yes, there is, Arden. Busy week, busy weekend. Um, First off is the UFL. The championship games have started. The UFL versus the USFL versus the XFL. And yesterday's game, I believe, Arden, was for the USFL championship, correct?
It was, and it like completely. I have to be anti Birmingham Stallions because they're just the best team. They won back-to-back USFL championships, and they had the best record in the league. They lost one game, and they were down by 18 points going into the second quarter, and it looked like, oh my God, the Michigan Panthers were going to stun them in a huge upset, and they actually came back, won the game, and it turned into a blowout. They actually blew out the. So they're going to play the winner of today's game, which is the San Antonio Brahmas versus the Battlehawks. The Battlehawks, if they win, they're not. They are truly the home team because the stadium will be where the Battlehawks play, and they're expecting over 60,000 people at that game. So,
Okay, Arden. That was a long time for you to
sorry,
call.
it's the championships.
Okay, so Arden brought up last week about the Cricket World Cup being held in the United States
Yep.
and our perplexion as to why they would have that here. But anyway, there was an upset beyond belief in that the USA team beat Pakistan. And yet it was not on TV.
Nope.
There's no video to be found.
Nope.
What do you think about that, Arden?
It's sad. It's so sad. They played in a 7,000 seat minor league baseball stadium, and they said it was unbelievable that Pakistan could lose this game. It makes they said the comparisons to Team USA versus Russia in the Olympics. They said this is 10 times worse than that because
Yeah.
these guys were part-time cricket players in the US. They had jobs. The best player works at Oracle as a software engineer. And they beat one of the best teams in the world. So I don't
That's
understand the rule.
unreal.
And the worst part was I still want to learn how they play. Like you read an article and it doesn't make sense to me. It might as well be written in Farsi or what's the language? Is it Zimbabwe or Zaire with the clicks? It might as well be like that.
All
Uh,
right. So, in the hockey world, the NHL Stanley Cup playoffs, they're in the finals now. But unfortunately for Arden, his team, the Rangers, unfortunately choked in the last round.
they
So
totally choked.
Arden, I'm really sorry about that.
They played, as my niece used to say, they played poopy. It was really, really poopy.
Okay.
And so
And
I don't even want to watch the games anymore. Even though but it
I
is the
can
Panthers
understand that.
it's the Panthers versus the Oilers. I am rooting for the Panthers. But yeah, I guess I'm rooting by vicariously. It sucks.
So the NBA finals are on too, but neither one of us care about that. So I'll just skip over and touch upon baseball. What's going on in baseball, Arden?
Baseball just had is having the big matchup is the Yankees versus the Dodgers. But what happened last week was fascinating. Major League Baseball announced that they are going to be merging or have already merged the Negro League statistics with Major League Baseball statistics.
Mm.
Um, and I'm for it. I'm against it. I'm only against it because it, why did they do it like as two separate leagues? It was great, and I want to make sure it just doesn't sound like any kind of racist comment. But there was another league many years ago called the Federal League. Those their stats are not merged, and I used to have. I think it was like a 900-page book, the baseball encyclopedia, and it had Federal League statistics. It had Negro League, all separate. I mean, at this point, why not have the women's league in there? Because they played for about 5 years.
You have a point.
Yeah, so that I don't really like. I don't know. I mean, do I care? Yes, no, I don't know.
Okay.
But that's about it for that one.
So shall we talk about was it Tuesday night? What
Which
you know, the debacle you had? Was
uh,
that Tuesday night?
yeah, well, let's finish the other story about your girl first.
Are you sure?
Yeah, we'll talk about that one. We'll talk about
All right.
the other part a little bit later.
So my girl Kaden Clark um basically played the Washington Mystics, and it was held at Capital One Arena, where the Washington Capitals play, as well as whatever our basketball team is. Usually the WNBA plays in a stadium that holds about 4,000 people, but due to her effect, they sold out at Capital One Arena and had over 20,000 people present. And she had a great game. She had 30 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And her free throws at the end of the game sealed the deal. Now, with that being said, the Washington Mystics are winless.
Mm.
And the Indiana Fever, best, they have 3 wins. I'm not sure. But again, that's what happens when you're picked as a first round draft pick. You go to the worst team. So then it hit the news that she's not going to be on the US Olympic roster. Um, and I'm fine with that. But Wayne was saying that they could have brought so much more attention to the game at the Olympics if they did have her on the team. Because no matter what everybody says, whether they like her or not, she is revolutionizing the WNBA. To sell out over 20,000 people is remarkable. Don't you think, Wayne?
Um, First, I have a question for you, and I do not know the answer to this. So, how are the women's Olympic teams going? Like, are they winning a lot? I mean, I have no idea.
Yeah, I believe they've won the last 7 years. So if you multiply that by 20,
Wow. Okay,
no,
so
by
it's
4, that's 28.
28 years
Yeah,
of winning.
over a 28-year period, they've won.
So they win gold 7 consecutive years, and
No,
there's seven
consecutive
consecutive tournaments. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Olympics.
Um,
Yes.
so with that, and then Caitlin, but so the league wasn't building on that. This is my only thought. You have a hot commodity where she is selling out. Now, there is a great comparison. So, Connor Bernard was the number one pick of the NHL. He's
Mm-hmm.
not selling out arenas. I mean, he's a once in a generational talent in the NHL. Nothing. Like, I mean, like, yeah, his team is selling out, but you have the two teams with the worst record, and they sell out. That's incredible. You know,
Yeah,
they're selling out arenas that the NBA team is not selling out. So I think that was a bad call on the Olympic team part. Even if she barely plays, the fact that she's on the team would draw a lot more interest.
agreed.
Sorry, that's only my opinion. I don't want to. I don't have any facts or figures, but I see the effect on Abigail, who is not a fan of the WNBA until her, if that makes sense.
it does.
So, do we have anything else going on in sports? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to talk about what happened on, I think it was Tuesday night.
all right. Well, I was gonna do this later. I was gonna talk about Um, eh, so first off, Alfred, my buddy from New York. First, I wanted to just let him know, like, if he. It was kind of a question that I don't know the answer to. So, the New Jersey, New York Red Bulls. I think they're just called the Red Bulls. Are building a new practice facility in Morris County, Virginia. They have their stadium, which is just theirs in New Jersey. Why are they not called the New Jersey Red Bulls instead of the New York Red Bulls? Because there's also a team in New York called the New York FC for football club. So I had to ask Alfred that. But in the meantime, Alfred comes down on a business trip to DC and asks me to go to the game, a Washington Nationals baseball game. I said, okay. And I suck. I give myself a -5 out of a scale of 1 to 10. Um, I drive to a metro stop that doesn't have parking, so I'm already looking like a dork. I live in the area and I don't even know because I barely take the metro. So then I drive to another metro station. I get out of the car and something I didn't know why, and I went, "Huh, I forgot my wallet." Now, and so as I'm kind of walking away from my car, I call Alfred and say, "Hey, I left my wallet at home. I don't even know. I'm looking in my car. I'm in total panic attack because I wasn't worried about getting to the game because I actually had a couple of bucks in my pocket, but I didn't have. But the gates at the metro stop do not accept cash, and there's no dude. They don't have an attendant. So I had no way of getting out of the metro stop without a credit card. Luckily, I call Abigail. She said, "Yeah, you left it at home." And the metro stops do have a little time frame. It could be anywhere like 15 minutes where you can actually leave without paying anything. But then it got worse. I'm like in total panic mode. I canceled. I felt like such a jackass that I'm trying to put the little ticket in the whatever the machine to get the gate to go up, and I'm panicking. I drop it on the ground. There's people behind me that like luckily, and all of a sudden like the guy behind me goes, "Dude, the gate's open." I felt like such a jackass. I got in my car. I literally like drove very slowly. Like what an idiot. So that was me. And I didn't go to the game. I got back home and I just sorry, Alfred. I totally I blew that one because you came all the way down there. But we ended up going out the next day.
Yeah, and you did, and that was a horrible day for me. But let's finish off sports. I think you wanted to ask me a question.
Yeah, so this actually relates to the before the Ask Abigail question. Now, are you familiar with the Marquis of Queensberry rules?
No.
So this is a it's a terminology. What these were, they were actually created. I'm sorry, endorsed by John Graham Chambers. He was the ninth Marquis of Queensberry, believe it or not, and he endorsed. He was a huge boxing fan, and in 1865, these rules were created. They were the so that for gentlemanly boxing when it was a true sport. The reason I bring this up is because I've heard this term mentioned quite a lot in the last few days. I've heard it on the radio, I've heard it on television, where they're describing. Now, I am going to get political here for a second. That the Republicans seem to play by the Marcus of Queensberry rules, and the Democrats fight dirty. So this goes to the Abigail question. And unlike last week, I don't think we're going to have many bullshit answers. You were very fired up last week, but so the question is, are you do you know, and how are you familiar? This is one long question, and your thoughts about the possible vice presidential picks by Donald Trump.
Okay, Arden.
Do you
I
need me
think
to do you need me to name them off?
um yeah, and I
Okay.
guess I'll just tell you what I think of them.
All right, so we have Marco Rubio. Now, there was a list of eight candidates. Then there was another thing that said there was four candidates left out of the eight, and then there was other people saying that there was actually others that are not on the list that are being considered. So I don't know, and so we just want your opinion on them. We have Marco Rubio. Do we want to go individually, or just let me give you the list first, and then you can go over them? What do you think?
We can just quickly go over them individually.
Okay, Marco
So
Rubio.
what do I think of Rubio?
Mhm.
No.
Okay, any particular reason, or yes, no, just no?
Just, he's a senator right out of the gate. He
Okay,
betrayed he betrayed the Republican Party. So no.
okay. JD Vance.
He's likable enough, but I don't think he has enough experience. He's just a House of Representative person, isn't he?
He's now his first term senator.
Okay, again, even though Obama was great at that, I just don't believe in this one.
He's also barely qualified age wise. He's only 38. Pretty amazing. Um, Scott from South Carolina. The He's another senator. So three straight senators in a row.
Well, Scott's been around and he's been on the campaign trail with Trump. He even was part of the running just to get the nomination. So out of, an A to F scale, I guess I would give him a B.
Okay. Then we have Governor Doug Burgum from North Dakota.
No.
Okay.
And
Dr. Ben.
that's because how much are you really governing in a state like North Dakota?
It does snow there sometimes. There might be, I was about to say elk. There might be like a mountain lion attack. I don't know. Um, and they probably get a lot of people from South Dakota who have dogs, maybe.
Yeah, don't bring that one up. I'm a little heartbroken.
Okay. Dr. Ben Carson.
Not for VP, but maybe a secretary position.
Okay. Okay. Tom Cotton, Senator Tom Cotton.
The one with the long neck.
I never really looked at his neck. Sorry.
Well, I have, and I just don't think he's gonna be personable enough,
Okay.
to be the nominee.
Almost
Uh,
done.
you know,
Byron Donaldson, excuse me.
who is he? Is he a senator or
He's
something?
a congressman, fiery. He would say he's one of Trump's biggest supporters.
I would say no. I ultimately believe senators or governors are best suited to be the VPs.
Okay. Elise Stefanik, the only woman on the list.
I really like her, but again, she's just a congresswoman.
Okay. So that was the big eight. Then there's a couple that were mentioned by some of the pundits. You have, how about Mike Pompeo, general?
No, he's too tainted.
Okay. How about Vivek Veeraswamy, personal guide, multi-billionaire?
Yeah, I mean,
Very young, though.
he was young and he was entertaining in the debates. He articulated his case many times. So out of the A to F scale, I give him a C plus.
And finally, the governor of Florida, DeSantis.
Now that's a tough one because you need somebody that's going to unify the country. He's a great conservative, um, but I think that may be the person Trump picks.
Perfect. So a little less fiery this week. We had a couple complaints of how bad it was last week.
Yeah, so I've
So
toned it down.
yeah, we wanted to make sure it was a little tone this week. Next week we'll get her all fired up again, folks. So don't worry. So I wanted to ask you, did I want to ask? So going way off topic, are you scared or nervous of the invasion of the JORO spiders?
I am petrified after you showed me a picture of that.
Would it be okay if I explain the JORO spiders?
I think you have to
Okay.
because every man and woman will be afraid of it. Well,
I
wait, I don't know about, transgenders, but I know every man and woman will be
every
okay.
person. How about that? That'll cover you.
I'm
You're
not
safe
trying
there.
to cover myself.
Okay. Um, so the JORO spiders, by the way, almost they actually this is a rare case where the male JORO spider is almost as big as the female. Very rarely. It's usually the female is like 3 or 4 or 5 times bigger. So these things their legs can be up to 4 inches long. They are the size of an average, they said woman's hand. So I don't know why they said average woman, but the average woman's hand. They fly via their webs. So what happens is they shoot their webs up like a parachute and they fly on the wind. And they know when the wind is blowing. And they are currently in the south of the US. They are in Maryland, they are in Virginia, West Virginia, they're all the way down into Florida, and they're going north, surprisingly. And they're supposed to reach New York by this summer because all they do is they fly on the wind and they can fly for miles and they're huge. And what was scary about it, they actually wrote in the article, they said they are slightly venomous. That scares the
But
bejesus out of me. They're slightly venomous. What the hell does that mean?
okay, so you said as big as a woman's hand.
Yes. So I'm assuming whatever the average size woman is, what is that, like 5'5"?
Well, I think you should be forced into defining what a woman is. But we'll move on. We'll move on.
Okay. I'll say 5'5", and I don't know. I will not back that up at all. As the average woman, I don't know. My mom is not 5'5". My sister, Abigail, my aunt, they're not 5'5". My nieces might be. I don't know. Anyway, going way off topic, but so these things are flying. They said being bitten by one is like a bee sting, and they're worried they are an invasive species from. They are from China, just like our friend, remember Mr. N and his
Hmm.
panic about the lantern flies that were also from China. I wonder if he's going to actually like these things because they will eat the lantern flies, but they'll also eat other good insects, supposedly. Like they
Well, I
eat
think,
like
yeah, I think he's gonna be excited about anything like that.
yeah, he's in New York City. Can you imagine like you're walking down New York City and one of these things lands on your shoulder? Ah, I mean, I hate spiders as is. I'm telling you, I'm getting the shotgun ready for those things because those things, if they're landed by me, I'm just gonna pull it out and just start shooting them. I'm gonna shoot them in the sky. So I also wanted to ask you because I've been doing way too much talking. You can tell us about your North Carolina trip.
Okay, so
Oh,
I had to go.
and the hold on, the North Carolina slash Abigail Abigail's really bad day.
Okay, well, the North Carolina trip, I went down with two colleagues, and I immediately called it before we left. I said I'm in the back seat, and the reason is that one of my colleagues is a total paranoid when he's not driving, and my colleague that I get along with really well, she did all the driving. Well, the entire time he was saying, "Ooh, ah," and telling her how to pass trucks and when to merge, and it was very painful to listen to. So I just toned him out, and that made the trip bearable for me. So going back to my terrible night, essentially, I was supposed to get our master bedroom furniture delivered from Bob's, and I do not like Bob's. I was told the window would be from 3 to 6. And then as I was tracking, then they said 5 to 30, 5 to 5:30. Then they said 3:30 to 4. So I raced home from work to be there in time. And then the tracking got longer and longer and longer. And it ended up being a window between 8 and 8:30 as the sun is setting. So the guys get there and they're exhausted because they've been out all day delivering furniture or picking it up. But anyway, the first piece they got off the truck, I told them was to be the bed. Well, he came up the steps and he said, I have bad news. And he said, there's a chip in the headboard. And he said, you want to come take a look at it? So I went down there thinking it was just a small chip, but it was over 2 inches and obviously not acceptable. So I quickly told them that, and they recommended that I deny the whole shipment, nightstands, chest, bureau. And they said, you'll be getting a call from Connecticut in about a minute. And sure enough, the phone rang. And this dude's telling me I shouldn't refuse all the other furniture. Well, I wasn't going to be caught in that, because if they brought it all into the house and I signed off on that, it's mine forever. And trying to look at the furniture outside, it was getting dark. So bottom line is they're coming on Friday. I've already called and told them I want to be the first drop off because I was furious. And on top of that, I had ordered Arden a mini fridge for his man cave. That came and it was dented and it had scratches, but Abigail fights back. And I got 50% back on the payment I paid. So it was not a good day. So Arden, I know we may be running out of time. Um, why don't you give a shout out to your mom who sent us a couple articles? And one of them was about a team called the Red Bulls, I think.
Yeah, I briefly mentioned them earlier. Yeah, they're moving to Morristown, their practice facilities. I have never been to a Reds Bowl game, but I was there when they were the New York, New Jersey Metro Stars. Many days. I used to go with Alfred quite a lot back in the day. Not a lot. He has season tickets. But I did want to bring up one last topic because this was fascinating to me. Have you been seeing you're familiar with Miss America, correct? Like the pageant?
Of course.
Okay. Um so this was odd. So there was two mega stories about the Miss America contests because I don't really know this stuff. So I was fascinated when these two pop up. Every state has their own pageant. So Miss Texas, Miss Hawaii, blah 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 blah, and then they compete in the Miss America pageant, which then goes on to the Miss World pageant. Anyway, that was the backstory. So you had two unique people that won in their states. First, you have Miss Alabama, Sarah, it looks like Milken or Milkington, who was, I would say, morbidly obese.
Hmm.
I mean, she's pushing 300 plus pounds. Not what you think of when you think of a beauty queen. Now, she literally, and a lot of people are saying it's fat shaming. If you are saying, hey, you're too fat to be in this pageant. But in the article, it was saying, what about if she was a chain smoker and smoking on stage? They're saying she is preaching an unhealthy lifestyle. Now, I myself am not exactly slim, but I don't like the word portly. That's definitely a bad name. But I was like, why? Like, are you literally like voting for a contestant just because she's overweight? And then in Maryland, Maryland had the first transgender person, Bailey Kennedy, who won. So you don't have a woman. You
Okay.
actually. I'm like, what happened to these famous like? It was usually like a beauty contest, blah blah blah.
Arden,
Congratulations.
Arden,
I was what? I'm sorry.
you're trying to trigger me.
Okay, I don't want to do that. I don't have any
No,
trigger warning.
no. Because again, what is the definition of a woman? You don't have to answer, but that's just ridiculous.
I mean, you have two people, and I am putting them together just because it is two, with different reasons, different causes, and it's like we're lowering the standards. And the woman who was on the news talking about the one saying she herself was a beauty and she won the contest and went to college because of it. She used the money and went to college. And she was saying that her daughters were thinking about getting into it. And she said, how can we compete? She's like, it's bad enough that there's transgender women in sports, there's transgender, and now they're in beauty contests. She's like, if I lost, I would not be allowed to go to college, and I lost to a man. And then she said, with the woman that was obese, she goes, that woman is practicing one of the worst lifestyles you could have. She's like, that woman could be dead in her 30s. And, I of course, being fat, I will say that I'm fat and obese. Like, it's like, yeah. Like, I would not want to see a fat dude like me being on what was it, Mr. Atlas, Mr. Universe? you know?
So again, this is what being woke is being woke.
It
And,
is
you
woke.
know, that's just obscene. So, got anything else, Arden?
I am looking to see here as I think that was everything I got. So, I would like to appreciate everything. I think we have a few minutes left, but I think we're good. So, I would like to, we got a little CJO to play us out, which we're learning. He's actually working on a new song for us, I believe. Is that correct?
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
I think
And
it's going to be
he may come play it live.
that would be great if you want to hear, and we want to hear from you. So, um, please feel free, reach out to us at we are crotchety old men at gmail.com. We are crotchety old men at gmail.com. Or if the best way to reach us is actually through Twitter at crotchety old men. That's Twitter or X at crotchety old men. And that's all I got for you today. Have a blessed day. Have a great day. And I'd like to say thank you and good night.
Good night.